Imagine you're about to make one of the biggest decisions of your life. Maybe it's starting a business, choosing a career, ending a toxic relationship, or finally following a dream you've kept hidden for years. You know what your heart wants. You know what feels right. And yet you hesitate, not because you're unsure of yourself, but because one question quietly enters your mind. What will people think? Suddenly, your excitement disappears. Your confidence begins to fade. You start imagining criticism, judgment, disappointment, and rejection. Before anyone has actually said a single word, you've already convinced yourself that their opinions matter more than your own happiness. And without realizing it, you abandon the life you wanted, just to protect the image other people have of you. But why? Why do we care so deeply about pleasing others? Why does a stranger's opinion sometimes hurt more than our own dreams? Why do so many people spend their entire lives trying to make everyone happy, while quietly becoming miserable themselves? The answer has very little to do with modern society. It begins thousands of years ago, long before social media, schools, offices, or even cities existed. Imagine living 50,000 years ago in a small tribe of 30 or 40 people. Every morning you hunted together. You shared food together. You slept near the same fire every night. Your survival depended completely on the people around you. If the tribe accepted you, you lived. If the tribe rejected you, your chances of surviving alone became incredibly small. There were no supermarkets, no hospitals, no police, and no safe place to hide. Being excluded didn't simply hurt your feelings, it threatened your life. Over thousands of generations, evolution shaped a brain that became incredibly sensitive to social approval. Your ancestors who cared about fitting in survived longer than those who ignored the group. Slowly, your brain developed an invisible alarm system that constantly asks one question. Do I still belong? That ancient system still exists inside you today. The problem is that the world has changed dramatically, but your brain hasn't changed nearly as much. Today, disagreeing with someone on social media won't threaten your survival. Wearing different clothes won't get you abandoned in the wilderness. Starting a YouTube channel won't get you removed from your tribe. Yet your brain often reacts as though it will, deep inside your mind. Rejection still feels dangerous because your nervous system doesn't fully distinguish between physical danger and social exclusion. This is why criticism hurts so much. Neuroscientists have discovered that social rejection activates many of the same brain regions involved in physical pain. In other words, your brain doesn't treat rejection like a simple opinion. It treats it like an injury. That's why one negative comment can stay in your mind for weeks, while dozens of compliments disappear within minutes. Your brain evolved to remember threats more than praise, because remembering danger once helped your ancestors survive. But perhaps the most dangerous part isn't that we want people to like us. It's that we slowly begin building our identity around their approval. Imagine a child who is only praised when they achieve high grades. Without realizing it, the child learns a silent lesson. I am lovable only when I succeed. Another child is praised only when they behave perfectly. They begin believing, if I disappoint people, I lose my value. These invisible beliefs follow us into adulthood. We become people pleasers, not because it's our personality, but because our brains learned that acceptance equals safety. Slowly, we stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, what will make everyone else happy? We say yes when we desperately want to say no. We hide our opinions to avoid conflict. We stay in unhealthy relationships because loneliness feels scarier than unhappiness. We choose careers that impress others instead of fulfilling ourselves. Little by little, we trade authenticity for approval. The strange part is that no matter how much approval we receive, it never feels permanent. Someone compliments you today, but tomorrow you worry they'll change their mind. You receive hundreds of positive comments online, yet one negative comment captures all your attention. Why? Because your brain isn't searching for praise. It's scanning for possible rejection. That ancient survival system still believes one person's disapproval could threaten your place within the group. Modern life has made this instinct even stronger. Social media has transformed human approval into numbers, likes, followers, views, shares, and comments. Every notification becomes a tiny reward. Every silence feels like a loss. Without realizing it, many people begin measuring their self-worth through digital approval. The more approval they receive, the better they temporarily feel. But because the brain quickly adapts, yesterday's success soon feels ordinary. The need for validation grows stronger, creating an endless cycle where external approval becomes emotional fuel. And yet, the greatest irony is this. The harder you try to make everyone happy, the more you lose the person whose happiness matters most, your own. Somewhere along the way, many people forget that they were never born to live according to everyone else's expectations. They were born to become themselves. It still believes fitting in is more important than standing out. It still believes rejection is dangerous. It still believes approval equals safety. The real question is not whether people will judge you, they always will. The real question is whether you're willing to sacrifice your own life trying to control opinions you were never meant to control. Because the moment you build your happiness on other people's approval, you hand them the keys to your emotional freedom. And that may be the most expensive price a human being can ever pay. If seeking approval makes us unhappy, why is it so difficult to stop? Why do intelligent, confident, and successful people still struggle to say no? Why do they apologize for things that aren't their fault, stay silent when they want to speak, and constantly worry about disappointing others? The answer is simple but powerful. Your brain doesn't fear disappointing people. It fears losing connection. Deep inside your nervous system, the rye is an ancient belief that says, if people stop accepting me, I'll end up alone. And because loneliness once threatened survival, your brain treats it as a serious danger. This is why people-pleasing feels automatic. It isn't usually a conscious decision. It's a survival strategy your brain has practiced for years. Every time someone smiles because you sacrificed your own needs, your brain quietly rewards you. Every time conflict is avoided, your brain says, good, we stayed safe. Slowly, you begin believing that your value comes from making other people comfortable. But here's the tragedy. The more you ignore yourself to protect others, the more disconnected you become from your own identity. One day you wake up and realize you've spent years living according to everyone else's expectations, yet you no longer know what you actually want. Your dreams become quieter. Your opinions become smaller. Your confidence begins disappearing because confidence cannot grow where authenticity is constantly being sacrificed. Think about how often you say yes when your heart is screaming no. You agree to plans you don't enjoy. You accept responsibilities that drain your energy. You stay available even when you're exhausted. You smile even when you're hurting. From the outside, everyone thinks you're kind. Inside, you're slowly becoming emotionally exhausted. The problem is that people-pleasing teaches others to expect your sacrifice as something normal. The more available you become, the more people begin depending on your inability to set boundaries. And when you finally decide to protect your own peace, some people become upset not because you've become selfish, but because they're no longer benefiting from your selflessness. This is why setting boundaries often feels uncomfortable. Your brain mistakes boundaries for rejection. It whispers, if you say no, they'll stop liking you. But healthy relationships don't disappear because of honest boundaries. Only unhealthy ones do. In fact, boundaries don't destroy genuine relationships. They reveal which relationships were genuine to begin with. Another hidden reason people struggle to stop pleasing others is that they confuse kindness with approval. Kindness is choosing to treat people with respect. Approval seeking is sacrificing yourself to avoid making people uncomfortable. These are not the same thing. You can be compassionate without abandoning your own needs. You can love people without living your entire life trying to earn their permission. You can disagree respectfully without becoming a bad person. Yet your brain often believes every disagreement is dangerous because thousands of years ago, disagreement could lead to exclusion. Fortunately, modern neuroscience gives us hope. The brain has an extraordinary ability called neuroplasticity, meaning it can reorganize itself throughout your entire life. Every time you choose honesty instead of pretending, every time you respectfully say no, every time you express your real opinion even though it feels uncomfortable, you're teaching your brain something new. We survived. At first, it feels terrifying because your nervous system still expects rejection. But gradually, something remarkable happens. What once felt impossible slowly becomes natural. This is how emotional freedom is built, not in one dramatic moment, but through hundreds of small, courageous decisions. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with everyone else's expectations. Every year, it becomes heavier. More opinions, more pressure, more guilt, more responsibilities you never truly wanted. One day, you finally stop walking. You remove the backpack and realize something surprising. The weight wasn't your life. The weight was everything you believed you had to carry for everyone else. Many people spend decades trying to be liked by everyone, only to discover that it's impossible. No matter how kind you are, someone will misunderstand you. No matter how generous you become, someone will think it's not enough. No matter how carefully you live, someone will criticize your choices. You cannot control other people's opinions because those opinions are shaped by their own experiences, beliefs, fears, and expectations, not by your worth. The moment you truly understand this, something inside you changes. You stop trying to manage everyone's emotions. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop shrinking yourself just to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. Instead, you begin asking a completely different question. Am I living a life that is honest to who I really am? That question is far more powerful than asking whether everyone approves of you. Because approval is temporary. Authenticity lasts a lifetime. Ironically, people often respect you more when you stop desperately trying to please them. Confidence attracts respect because it communicates self-worth. And self-worth can never be built on constant approval from other people. It grows only when you begin approving of yourself. So the next time you feel afraid to disappoint someone, remember this. Every person you admire has disappointed someone along the way. Every inventor, artist, entrepreneur, leader, and visionary was criticized by people who didn't understand them. If they had spent their lives trying to satisfy everyone, they would never have become the people history remembers. Your brain evolved to help you belong, but your purpose in life is much greater than simply fitting in. You were not born to become everyone's favorite person. You were born to become the most authentic version of yourself. And sometimes becoming that person requires disappointing others, so you no longer have to disappoint yourself. In the end, the greatest freedom isn't when everyone likes you. The greatest freedom is when your happiness no longer depends on whether they do. Because the moment you stop living for other people's approval, you finally begin living for yourself.